I just finished one of the largest statues I have ever done. It's over 3 feet tall and 1/3 scale. It's the Punisher. Yeah, sorry about that, but if I have your attention now, this is the Punisher from 3D Wicked. I printed it in 1/3 scale, so this thing is like 36 inches tall, a little tad over 3 feet tall, and it is a beast. So let's go check it out right now. So here it is, everybody. This is the Punisher from Wicked3D Studios. This thing is a huge 1/3 scale. It stands about 36 inches tall. I opted for the bigger base on it, and I am not disappointed at all with this model. It is beautiful. It is huge. I actually had a hand in the design on this one with Gabriel from Wicked. We kind of collaborated on the pose and on the cover and everything. And this is the one that I have been wanting for a very, very long time. In today's video, I'm going to go over what I did to it, because I did alter the base a little bit, and I'll tell you some of the painting techniques that I used on it. And that way that if you decide to print this one for yourself, you can use it kind of as a guideline if you wish. And here we go. Boy, he's huge. Okay, for starters, let's go ahead and talk about the body of the figure. So there are some switch outs that you can get. There is alternate heads for this one, and I did print 2. These are actually held together. If you can see how big this thing is, these are held by magnets. I will be doing a video very soon on how to do magnets in your models. And so it does have a couple other heads. I just opted for this one here, and it just kind of just pops onto place like that. So the other thing I did on the head sculpt to alter it a little bit were on the eyebrows. I noticed that the eyebrows had like come to a point, and I didn't really like those, so I kind of shaved them down a little bit and re-sculpted some of the eyebrows in there on both head sculpts, and I think it looks a little bit better. So I opted to do a little bit different than the traditional black and white costume. I kind of wanted to do the brown. I have not done one of the Punisher models like this, so I opted to do that. I did all the gun holsters in brown, dry brushed everything with a lighter brown, did a black wash on them, and did the little chrome accents on here. Same thing with the pouches, did the same thing, did a base color brown, did a light brown over the top dry brushing, and did a little bit of a black wash on it as well. On the gloves, same thing. I did use a little bit of red leather for some of the highlights on here. Now granted, I use the Uzis on both here. These are stationary, they're not coming off here. Wicked did do a shotgun alternative here on this hand here. And I think they did something different on this one here. I'm not exactly 100% sure. But for the body, I did a black base and then a dark blue shadowing over it, or highlight on it. And I went back in with the airbrush to go ahead and do the shadowing and stuff. And the bullets and all of the shells and stuff I painted with my gold leaf paint that I talk about all the time. You can actually find that at like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. I think Hobby Lobby is carrying it now on the regular. This stuff is awesome. Allows you to weather it. I didn't weather it too much or whatever, but you can get a really nice antique gold finish by putting a black wash on it. And it turns out really, really cool. Nice effect. So the only white thing on here is the skull. I did it in an off-white, and I did a little bit of shadowing with the airbrush in here with a dark gray, and kind of weathered it up a little bit. Make the skull stand out. This is like the focal point of the whole entire piece. And I really wanted it to stand out, so I got all of the brown and the black everywhere, and of course that white skull makes it stand out, makes it pop really, really well. And if you haven't checked out my video on how to do a 5 o'clock shadow, go over all of that on the head pieces here. But again, it's just basic skin tones with the red shading, and I kind of go over that in some of my older videos. and really happy the way everything turned out. Let's put this one back on here, and with a magnet it just plops right on. It's not going anywhere. Did the same thing with this head. Turned out really nice. Just those skin tones just, man, make a huge difference with it. Again, if you need a video on how to do skin tones, I think I have like 2 or 3 in my catalog here. You can take a look at those. All of the detail goes around the back. He does have this nice rifle that's on the back here. Again, I just did a flat black with a little bit of chrome and chipping accents and stuff on here. And again, I carried the black all the way around with the blue highlighting and stuff. And again, the brown on the holsters. Basically what I did was just did a flat brown, or an earth tone, I think brown is what it's called. And then I just did a black wash over that. And then I accented it with a little bit of lighter brown, and I hit it with a little bit of the red leather on some of the edges here. And you get a really nice leather effect on that. And again, the gun is just basic black with a little chipping on there. I did spray a little bit of dark brown on it to kind of break up a little bit of the contrast in it, and turned out pretty good on that one. Same thing with the pouches. I think I went over the pouches a little bit already. Nothing fancy there. I did a little bit of the brown leather on the belt, but other than that, it was pretty much a basic paint job when it comes to the textures and stuff like that on the suit. Same thing with the capo knife. I think it's a capo knife. Just basically painted it black and just did a little bit of weathering, a little bit of chipping on it. With the boots, weathered them up a little bit. Did a basic black and did a little bit of dry brown, or dry brushing a little bit of leather brown on it, and lighten it up around here to kind of dirty it up a little bit with a lighter brown. Going back to the guns, the reason I did this one as stationary and not a switch out is because of the weight of this thing. I did not have magnets big enough to actually fit in there. I'm sure you can put like 2 or 3 in there in order to hold it. I tried it with a magnet and it just kept falling off. It was just way too heavy. So I went ahead and I glued it, I epoxied it on there, and it sits there stable now. The same thing with the bullet belt. You can actually take that off or whatever if you wanted to, but again, I glued mine, made it stationary, and it's not coming off. All right, so getting down to the base here, lots and lots of detail. As you can see, there are plenty of shells, bullets, ammo scattered all over the place. We got regular shells, we got shotgun shells over here, we got grenades, we got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So the detail is just a massive. I mean, there's massive amounts in here. You got your ammo cans. Basically, all I did was on this whole entire base, I painted the rock part all gray, a light gray. I put a wash over everything, and then the bottom here I did a little bit of a dark gray with a black wash. Once it took forever to dry, then I went through and I did little things like the airbrushing here on the columns and stuff to point out some of the details, a little bit of some of the depth and the stuff into there, kind of break that up a little bit, a little bit of shadowing and stuff on the base right here. And then I went in and I did some lighter gray dry brushing and made it look like rock. I did put a little bit of brown, a little bit of tan into it. And like right in here, I just went into some of those areas, kind of break up that gray a little bit. And with the ammo cans, the grenades, I used a camo green from Vallejo. And pretty much all the paints that I used here were from Vallejo. And again, a black wash on everything to kind of dirty it up a little bit, weather it up a little bit. And then I went back in with, I mixed up a little bit of a lighter green with that camo green. And I did some of the accents and stuff on here to break up some of that paint monotony. Did some detailing here with some black. And then I went in and did some chipping here with a little bit of that silver and chrome. To kind of weather it up a little bit and just make it look like it's been kind of battle damaged a little, and turned out pretty good, I think. Not bad at all. The weathering, or the lettering on here, just did a white dry brushing. and just eventually just kind of, I used a sponge in order to sponge a lot of these chipping effects and stuff on here. And so I did that, and yeah, turned out okay. The back here, there is a shotgun. This thing is big. It's a solid piece. It's not hollowed out. So it did take me a couple of times to print this because it just was too heavy for the supports and it wound up breaking off. And then there's the bandolero right there with the shotgun shells. There's also some shotgun shells here on the base itself. And that belt right there is actually attached to the model, to this part right here. So when you print it out, that's already on there. I wish they did make it a separate piece, because it is kind of flimsy whenever it comes off, especially if you're going to paint it or print it in a smaller scale. So be careful of that whenever you print this thing up. Then we got the graffiti on the back. I am not a graffiti artist at all. As you could tell, I probably could have done a little bit better on this. I'm not a fan of the graffiti on here, especially when it's raised. If it was going to be graffiti, I would rather it just be something that I paint on myself. So that's one of those design things that I kind of wish they would have done a little bit different. But we just deal with it here. And let me show you what I did to alter the base a little bit on the other side here. So this is the side that had all the gun blasts or the muzzle flashing coming off of the columns and everything like that and off the wall. I actually painted it at first. Then to me, it looked a little bit kind of hokey. So I actually just clipped them off here and I just filled it in just kind of with a little bit more detail. I filled it in with some resin and just made it into like some bullet holes or just some battle damaged areas right here within the wall. And I think it turned out better. I'm not a big fan of those little blasts and stuff on there. It just didn't look right. Either it didn't look right or I just couldn't paint the damn things right. But either way, I altered that and I think it turned out a little bit better. Also, one of the things that I didn't really dig on this one here, and I didn't think there was really any way around it, it's a well-designed model, but the way it actually fits on to the base here. So there's not much of a peg here in the foot, and it just kind of sets down on here and it indents right here into the column. But a model this big, I had to use a lot of glue to keep this thing stable. There was no putting a rod in the foot or anything like that to get it to stand where you could take it on and off. There was just no way of doing it. And this foot right here just kind of sets down on this column. And again, it was just really difficult to get it to where it would just sit on there on its own. And if you pull back a little bit, you can see that this model kind of leans a little bit, and it's meant to do that because he's leaping. But again, I just couldn't fathom and putting like any type of weight into there to get this thing to stand on its own, and it was just a little bit difficult. But I used a little bit of glue, a little 5-part epoxy or 2-part 5-minute epoxy on this, and it turned out to where it held up really well. It's really stable. It's in there. It's not going anywhere. I have seen people do this at like a 1/6 scale, even some 1/4 scale measures, and I'm not sure what they did. I think they kind of did the same thing. I don't think that they were able to take the model off of the base. So it is what it is. All right, so as you can see me standing next to this thing, I got it propped up here, but it is a full 36 inches tall. The base, I think, is an 18 inches square. If you haven't checked out Wicked3D yet, go over and look at them. They have just everything that you could possibly think of as far as a model is concerned. And I'm in the process right now of making the Punisher bust, but I'm doing it in a 1/1 scale. And to give you an indication of how big that one is, this is the hands and the gun that are going to go to it. And I'm in the middle of printing the torso right now. So this one will be coming up very, very soon. But this will set really nice with my Punisher Armory #1 cover displayed right next to it. All right, everybody, so I know you want to check out some of the up-close pictures of this thing. So let's do that right now. We'll be right back to close out, and let's go. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you really like this model. Again, I want to thank Wicked3D for the model. It is a really nice piece. If you have not checked them out, go over there right now. Their Patreon link is below in the description. And I do want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon members. Without them, the videos probably would not be possible. I definitely couldn't print something this big. So thank you very, very much. And if you want to become a member of the Patreon, well, we do have models of the month. We do custom models for you guys. And for the month of May, we have Mr. Sinister, which has been sent out to all backers already. And now we're waiting on Zartan for the G.I. Joe line. And did I mention we have a private Discord as well? Okay, everybody, as always, stay safe out there. Get out and create something. Print, prep, paint, repeat. And until the next video, we'll see you. Remember earlier in the video I said about the 1/1 scale bust of the Punisher? Here is the head. I've done lost my head.